I feel like currently there's a gap in the market, and not in the market, but in general social media, of what books and what documents and what online resources are great if you want to get into fashion. In the course of 4 years of studying, these are the books that we went through, and there's some additional resources that I do have that I think will be most beneficial for someone who wants to get into the industry or wants to learn more about the industry. So the very first section I have is fashion history. So some people may not be very interested in fashion history, but fashion history is one of the best modules I think I've ever taken in my 4 years. It was the most interesting module, and it was the most beneficial module in my eyes, because it's very important to understand how fashion has evolved over time, and it's interesting to see everything that's happened previously. The book that we used was Costume and Fashion, A Concise History by James Lava. And if you can see, it's a very beautiful book. It's giving coffee table energy. And this book I really enjoyed. And it's also a very nice picture book. It's a really great book to show you what happened, like how fashion began, the Greeks and the Romans, early Europe, the Renaissance, 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, and the millennial, and then fashion that's happened since 2010. And it's a great book in terms of it's lots of pictures. If you are a picture person, this is the book for you. But for the basics of understanding fashion history and what was fashion back then, it's a very good basis of how fashion has changed, and looking at also the sociology of clothing back then, and then you can in your personal time reflect how it is now. So this is a great starter for history. It's also a great starter to fashion forecasting as well. So it's both a fashion forecasting and a good basis for fashion history in essence. Next section we have for good fashion books is our fashion design and our techniques. So this section is sort of going into anything regarding fabric manipulation, pattern making, designs, anything on how to make an item of clothing. These two books are the best books you'll ever need. So the first book I have, which is the most beneficial book you'll ever need in terms of how to draft your own patterns and how to create certain designs or styles of sleeves, dresses, pants, anything you want, you can achieve with this book. It's called Metric Pattern Cutting for Women's Wear by Winfred Aldrich. And it is such a great book. When I say it's such a great book, you just have to go online and you have to see how great this book is, because it tells you how to draft your own pattern blocks using your own measurements, which is great because we want to learn how to make your own shirt or your tank top or your own trousers or whatever you want. You can make it by yourself. It doesn't give you a detailed step by step, but it shows you the pattern piece, what the pattern piece should look like for that certain style. So say for example, I want a neckline. I want a low cut neckline for a t-shirt, but I don't know how to draft that. Well, don't worry, queen, because it shows you how to do it. It shows you the low cut front and how that pattern piece should look like. If you have a problem with your sample, say if you're making trousers and your bum is baggy, there's too much fabric, it shows you exactly how to fix that. Great textbook in terms of learning the basics of pattern making and the basics of pattern manipulation. It's really great to get certain styles. So the second book we have in terms of fashion design is a very chunky, heavy book. She is chunky, she is thick, she is heavy. And this is The Pattern Making for Fashion Design by Helen Joseph Armstrong, the 5th edition. Do you see how thick she is? She is massive, but she is great. It also teaches you how to draft pattern pieces. It does teach you how to draft pattern pieces, but the only difference with this is in inches, it's not in centimeters. A lot of different pages of content because there's things like collars, sleeves, skirts, tops, bodysuits, leotards, jackets and coats, menswear, capes and hoods. I'm going to show you here what I mean on why it's also great. Provides a lot more additional styles that aren't in the previous one, but they're both really great in conjunction with one another. Because if there's nothing in the other book, you can look in this book, vice versa. And so the nice thing about this book is that it tells you exactly how to make something. The previous book just shows you the pattern piece and provides a general outline of this is what you have to do, but this one goes into a lot more detail on how to achieve certain styles, and it's a great book to learn from, except it's very heavy. Ugh. This next section is all about business marketing. You can apply it to fashion marketing and also some fashion marketing books in terms of retailing. So with these textbooks, the first textbook is a basis for marketing. What is marketing all about? And this one is specifically service marketing. So it's all about people, profit, place, price, promotion. You learned about this in high school. I know you did. I remember this in business. Grasping Service Marketing by Jordan and Samuels. We got this in our marketing course first year for varsity, and it's really good in understanding, like I said, the basis of marketing. But our second textbook, I think, is the most important textbook that I've used over the years, and it's all about consumer behavior. I know a lot of people might not be interested in consumer behavior, but I'm interested in consumer behavior, and I used this, I think, throughout second year to fourth year. This book has been the most beneficial because we had a lot of other modules that refer to this book. So this book is Consumer Behavior, South African Psychology and Marketing Applications. This is the second edition, and it has a bunch of authors at the bottom, but this is the book. So it talks about consumers as a whole. What are their attitudes? What are their beliefs? What are their values? What are their norms? What are their perceptions? What are their expectations? Because every consumer is different, but they all have different ways on how they absorb information, process information, and make a decision from it. So this is a great thing to learn from in terms of how basic consumers work. So the last book I have in terms of retailing, and it's also in terms of marketing, is this book called Fashion Retailing. It's the third edition, and it's a multi-channel approach. There's also a lot of authors in here as well, but they all seem to be related by Diamond. So it's also quite a big book, and it's thick. It talks about the nature of the fashion retailing industry. Talks to you about the history of the retail industry. It talks about the impact of more of a global retail industry. And it also teaches you about the organization structure within retailing. So this is obviously a great book if you want to look at things such as visual merchandising, if you want to learn about the different management divisions within the retail store. It also has things such as the retailer's environment. So when we say retailer's environment, we talk about the actual environment where a retailer is. So it talks about visual merchandising, it talks about, having on-site locations, so the different types of locations you can have in the retail space. It talks about, how to design, your brick and mortar retail stores. If they're wanting to open a retail store, but they don't know how to do it, this is a great book on understanding what to choose from. The textile section is another book that I have online. Is Pearson's New International Edition Textiles by Sarah J. Koldolf. And once again, this is a great book. She is a great book. If you are within the textile industry, or if you want to learn more about textiles in general, how textiles work, how they're made, how they're woven, how fibers are made, this is a lovely book, and understanding the basis of textiles and how that works. So if you want to go into the textile industry, if you want to understand as a designer what textiles are the best textiles, this is the book you need. It's a very expensive book, but it's a great book. The properties of each fiber. So it will say for wool, these are the properties. This is what it's good for. This is what it's not so good for. It tells you all the insider trade of fabrics, which I think not a lot of people know about. So if you want more of a general understanding of textiles, how textiles are made, what type of weaves there are in the world, what fabrics and textiles, or what fibers are really good for certain aspects, this is a great book that you can learn from. The second book that's important for people that want to learn more. So it's more for people that want to learn more about sustainability in terms of textiles and fibers and the general life assessment of a garment, something like this. This is a book for you. This book I don't think I would have ever known in my life until it was recommended by our lecturer, and we learned about a lot of things in this book. It opens your eyes to the fashion industry. Chapter 1 in this book is all about carbon footprints in the textile industry. So it talks about different types of footprints. It talks about the impact of these footprints and how detrimental the industry actually is. If you want something that opens your eyes to this industry, and say you are a brand that wants to be sustainable, this is a great book for you to read through and understand the impact of this industry. So the number one online resource that I use throughout my years at varsity is a website called WGSN. WGSN has saved me a lot of times, and it's helped me a lot of times through different things. So WGSN is a website and it's a company that essentially does trend forecasting. Want to release a collection in 2026, you go onto WGSN, you put your filters on women's wear 2026, you can choose summer, winter, autumn, whatever, what season you want it for, and then it will show you all the trend reports that are coming out. And if you were to go onto these trend reports and look through it, the amount of stuff that actually happens is insane. It doesn't always have to be, that this style is coming out. They provide fabric, actual fabrics that are going to be popular, provide themes that are going to be popular, they provide colors that are going to be popular, they provide certain trims that will be popular, they provide any single aspect of a garment. You will find a trend report on it on WGSN. The only downfall of WGSN is that you do have to pay for it. However, with our varsity we had access to it, so I have access to it now, and yeah.